I remember the night I first heard the music box play. It was exactly 12 minutes past midnight. The house was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears until even your own heartbeat sounds too loud. I was visiting my aunt's old countryside home after almost 10 years. I had gone there to help clean it out after she passed away. She had lived alone since my uncle died, and to be honest, no one ever really liked staying in that house for long. There was something about it, something unexplainable, that made people uneasy. Maybe it was the way the hallways seemed to breathe in the dark, or the way the clocks always stopped at the wrong time. But to me, it was just an old memory of my childhood, a place where I used to play hide and seek in the garden, a place where my aunt used to tell me bedtime stories while the rain tapped on the window. That night, I couldn't sleep. The rain was falling softly outside. The sound of thunder rumbled far away like a slow drum, and that's when I heard it. A delicate tune, faint and distant, the kind of melody that makes you freeze because you know you shouldn't be hearing it. It was a lullaby. One I remembered from my childhood, a song my aunt used to hum before bedtime. But it wasn't her voice this time. It was coming from somewhere downstairs, soft and metallic like a wind-up music box. I hesitated for a long moment. Then curiosity won. I slipped out of bed and followed the sound. The floorboards creaked under my feet, and as I walked down the hallway, the tune grew louder. It led me straight to the living room, the one filled with old furniture, family portraits, and a tall grandfather clock that hadn't worked in years. The music was coming from the display cabinet, the one that used to hold my aunt's collection of porcelain dolls and trinkets. Inside, on the top shelf, sat a small wooden music box. I hadn't seen it in years. It was carved with flowers and tiny stars, and there was a name engraved on the lid. Lily. Lily, that name sent a strange chill through me. I knew it, but I couldn't remember from where I opened the cabinet door and reached for the box. As soon as I touched it, the music stopped, just like that. The silence that followed felt heavy. I opened the lid slowly. Inside was a tiny spinning ballerina, frozen mid-turn, and beneath her was a folded piece of paper. I picked it up. It was yellowed with age. The handwriting was my aunt's. It said, "For whoever finds this, please forgive me. I never wanted it to end that way." I froze. Forgive her for what? The next morning, I called my mother and asked about the name Lily. She went quiet for a long time. Then she said something that made my skin crawl. She said, "I hoped you'd never find that name again. Lily was your cousin." My cousin? I didn't even know I had one. Mom explained that before I was born, my aunt had a daughter named Lily. But something happened when she was only 8 years old. She disappeared one stormy night, and no one ever found her. I couldn't believe it. How could no one have told me about her? Why would they hide something like that? I went back to the music box that night and played the tune again. It was sad and haunting, and when it stopped, I thought I heard something, a whisper, very faint. It sounded like a little girl's voice. It said, "Find me." I froze in place. Every hair on my arm stood on end. I whispered, "Lily?" But there was no reply. I told myself it was just the wind, just the old house making sounds. But deep down, something inside me knew that wasn't true. The next day, I went through my aunt's study. The drawers were full of letters and receipts, nothing unusual, until I found an envelope hidden inside a book. The letter inside was written by my aunt, but never sent. It was addressed to my mother. It said, "I can't live with this secret anymore. I thought burying the past would bring peace, but it hasn't. Every night I hear her music playing. Every night I see her by the garden gate. My blood ran cold. The garden gate remembered playing near it when I was little. It always squeaked, and behind it was a small patch of roses. I never thought much of it. That night I couldn't sleep again at midnight. The music box started playing on its own, the same melody. Soft and haunting, I followed the sound once more. But this time, I wasn't scared. I felt something different, like I was being called. I whispered, "Lily, is that you?" The music got louder. I followed it to the back door, the one that led to the garden. The door creaked open by itself. The rain had stopped. The moon was full, and the garden shimmered silver in its light. The music box played one last note and went silent. Then I saw it, a faint glow near the rose bush by the gate. I walked closer and noticed the ground there looked disturbed, like it had been dug up before. My heart pounded. I dropped to my knees and brushed away the wet soil. And there, just beneath the surface, I found a small tin box wrapped in cloth. Inside were 3 things: a photograph of my aunt holding a little girl with curly hair, a locket shaped like a heart, and a single note. The note said, "Forgive me. I only wanted to protect her. I didn't understand." Protect her from what? I looked at the picture again, and suddenly I noticed something strange. Behind them, in the background, was a man. A man standing near the edge of the garden, partly hidden in shadow. Something about him looked wrong, the way his eyes seemed fixed directly on the child. The next morning, I drove into town. I showed the photo to one of the older neighbors who used to live nearby. Her name was Mrs. Keene. When she saw the photo, her face turned pale. She said, "That man, that's George, the gardener. He disappeared the same week as Lily." I felt my stomach twist. I asked what kind of man he was. She hesitated, then said, "Strange, quiet. He used to talk to himself. And your aunt fired him right before the accident." "Accident? What accident?" I asked. She looked at me sadly. "Your aunt's car went off the bridge that week. They said she was trying to drive to the police station, but no one ever found the car." Everything inside me went cold. My aunt had never mentioned any of this, and yet, the music box, the letter, the whispers, all of it was leading to the same place. That night, I couldn't resist. I brought the music box to the garden, and as soon as I placed it near the rose bush, it started playing again on its own. The air around me grew cold, and I heard that same voice again. "Find me," I whispered. "Where are you?" And then I saw her. A faint figure of a little girl standing near the gate. She looked so real and yet so far away. Her dress was white, her hair damp from the mist. She smiled softly and pointed to the well at the far corner of the garden. Then she was gone. The next morning, I went to that old well. It had been sealed with wooden planks for years. I pried them open, and when I looked inside, I saw something glinting in the darkness. A silver bracelet. I pulled it out carefully, and on it was engraved one word: Lily. My chest tightened. I knew now what had happened. Lily hadn't run away. She hadn't vanished into the night. Something terrible had happened, and my aunt had carried that secret her whole life. Later that day, I took everything I had found: the photo, the letter, the bracelet, and the music box to the local police. They reopened the case, and a few weeks later, they confirmed it. Remains were found at the bottom of that old well. It was Lily. The officer said my aunt had likely found out what happened too late. She had tried to bring the truth to light, but she never made it to the station that night. Her car had indeed gone off the bridge for days. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The guilt she must have carried, the love she had for her daughter, how she must have sat in that lonely house night after night, hearing that same song, her daughter's favorite lullaby, playing in her mind. The night after I learned the truth, I went back to the house one last time. It was quiet, peaceful. Different somehow, I placed the music box on the fireplace mantel and wound it one last time. The tune filled the room, gentle and familiar. I whispered, "You're free now, Lily. You and her both." The air grew warm, and for a moment I could swear I saw the faint figure of a woman and a child standing by the window, bathed in moonlight. The woman smiled, the child waved, and then they were gone. Now the house stands silent again, but not empty. It feels at peace, like all its secrets have finally been told. Sometimes, when I visit, I still hear the faintest sound of the lullaby playing softly through the halls. But now it doesn't scare me. It feels like a reminder that love doesn't die. It lingers. It waits until someone finally listens. And that's what I did. I listened. Because every house full of secrets has a story. And some stories only come alive when you're brave enough to open the box and hear the music again.